Welcome to Comics Are Awesome, brought to you by Alter Ego Comics. My name is Mark, and I am here today to talk to you about all of the comics that I loved this week. And unlike last week, which was a drought in terms of books that I enjoyed, the riverbanks are overflowing this week in terms of comics that are awesome. Let's start out with Avengers number 14, written by Jason Aaron, artwork by David Marquez. Imagine, if you will, a war among vampires. And the only ones who can stop that war and save lives are the Avengers and Blade. So Blade, maybe he's an Avenger at this point, maybe he's a consultant, I don't know, but Blade features prominently in this issue alongside all of the Avengers as they take on the undead. And we also get to see some other characters that Jason Aaron has introduced in his 14-issue run of the current series. You'll never see this on the big screen, folks. You'll never see the Avengers fighting vampires. I can almost guarantee it. In fact, someone make a note, and then we can come back and watch this 25 years from now and see if I'm right, if the Avengers ever do fight vampires. So the only place you're going to get to see Captain America and Iron Man and Black Panther and Thor and She-Hulk and Ghost Rider and Captain Marvel, and Blade fighting vampires is this week's issue of Avengers, number 14. I loved it. Batman number 64, written by Joshua Williamson, artwork by Gilliam March. This is the first part of the 4-issue crossover between Batman and the Flash called The Price of Justice. This is going to be 2 issues in Batman, 2 issues in the Flash, bouncing back and forth. So Batman 64, Flash 64, Batman 65, Flash 65. This is top-notch stuff, folks. This spins out of the events of Heroes in Crisis, but also is a throwback a little bit to The Button, where Batman and the Flash were teaming up to solve the mystery of The Button and Thomas Wayne and the Watchmen and all kinds of stuff. This time around, Batman is running on fumes. He's been fighting crime all over the place on his own. He's been dealing with his own issues in his own book. He's been fighting nonstop issues with the Justice League. He's dealing with the crisis at Sanctuary, and now there is something else afoot, which is a callback to Tom King's early run on Batman, and he and the Flash are not exactly on the best terms right now because Wally West was one of the victims of Sanctuary, of Heroes in Crisis, and Barry Allen hasn't really forgiven Batman for that, but they are thrown together to solve a mystery just like the olden days. Batman 64 gets a big thumbs up. My pick of the week is Daredevil number 1 by Chip Zdarsky, artwork by Marco Cicchetto. Imagine, if you will, Netflix doesn't cancel Daredevil. We get a Daredevil season 4, and this is it. This is a great jumping on point for anyone that hasn't been reading Daredevil. It's a great continuation for any longtime Daredevil fans. And in this world, for those of you that haven't been reading Daredevil, Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin of Crime, is mayor of New York City. Matt Murdock has been in intensive care, overcoming some injuries, saving a teenager's life. Matt was actually hit by a truck and came very close to death. And now he is trying to get his Daredevil legs back, but also his Matt Murdock legs back. And this was fantastic. That's why it's my pick of the week. Zdarsky is a great writer of characters. He obviously has a big love for all things Marvel, as you can tell from his work on Marvel 2-in-1 and Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man. Daredevil is no exception to his great writing ability of Marvel characters, and the icing on the cake is Marco Cicchetto's artwork. Most recently, you will have seen this with Old Man Hawkeye. Cicchetto was the penciler on that. He also did some stuff years ago with Greg Rucka's Punisher, and got to draw Daredevil then, and also has done some work in the Star Wars universe, but his artwork is fantastic. There is so much to love, and it's a weighty issue. There's a lot of story here. Daredevil number 1, my pick of the week. All right, next up, we have a couple books that I hope you don't pass over, and that's why I'm talking about them now. Hopefully I'll get this out in front of you in time that you see it before you go to your local comic shop. The first is The Girl in the Bay. This is a 4-issue miniseries published by Dark Horse, written by J.M. DeMatteis. I don't know if it's DeMatteis or DeMatteis. We're going both ways. Who was the mastermind behind Kraven's Last Hunt in the world of The Amazing Spider-Man. This is a very Twilight Zone-esque story of a teenager, 16, 17-year-old girl who is murdered. She actually is drowned in the water, and everyone thinks that she's still alive somehow because she has someone who's been living her life. The young girl comes out of the water, and it's 30 years later. And there's the premise. So very Twilight Zone-esque 4-issue miniseries. I got an advanced look at this one several weeks ago and loved it. And so we ordered up here at Alter Ego. We're also making it a risk-free option for those of you that are local. Buy it. If you don't love it, bring it back. We'll give you store credit for it within 7 days. So no risk to you. Try something new. I didn't mean to rhyme. The Girl in the Bay, #1. Also new this week, Oberon, #1, written by Ryan Parrott, artwork by Milos Slavkovic. This is published by Aftershock, and this is right up the alley for all you Fables fans. If you loved Fables, you will love Oberon. This was another one that I got a sneak peek at a few weeks ago, ordered up. It is also risk-free here at Alter Ego. Buy it, read it. If you don't love it, bring it back within 7 days for store credit. And this is about a young girl. She's the youngest member of a 4-person family, mom, dad, older sister, and her. And she's very intelligent. She's got an active imagination, and she finds out that she may or may not be the princess of a fairy world that's in danger of being overrun by a big bad guy. But she lives, the girl lives in our world, present day, and then she gets whisked away to this magical land where her life is in danger. So it hooked me from the beginning. I loved Fables. I think if you're a Fables fan, you're going to love Oberon as well. Let's get back to the world of Marvel Comics. I spoke about Old Man Hawkeye earlier and the fantastic artwork by Marco Cicchetto. That was written by Ethan Sachs, and he is back with Old Man Quill this week. Old Man Quill #1, written by Ethan Sachs, artwork by Robert Gill. And I didn't know what to expect of this other than Sachs really hit my radar because of Old Man Hawkeye. I loved the story. He's done a couple other things over at Marvel that I really enjoyed, including the Silver Surfer Annual that came out last year, which was top-notch. So I don't want to tell you too much about this, except that Sachs is world building within the Old Man Logan universe. So you have Old Man Logan, you had Old Man Hawkeye, which was also taking place within the world of Old Man Logan just before things go really horrible for Logan. And now we have Old Man Quill, which is a grand space epic. It starts out with Peter Quill as Emperor of Spartax, his homeworld where his father was from. He has a wife, he has 2 children, and he is no longer connected to the Guardians of the Galaxy. In fact, he hasn't been back on Earth for many, many years. But that is about to change, and that's really all I can say. Trust me when I say if you enjoyed Old Man Logan and Old Man Hawkeye, you will enjoy Old Man Quill. Red Sonja gets relaunched yet again. This is volume 5, just for your keeping score, over at Dynamite Entertainment. The reason that we're talking about this, though, is the writing by... come on, here we go. One of these days. Why is this at the end? There we go. Marc Russell is the writer on this, who did a bang-up job over on the Flintstones. He also wrote the fantastic Count Chocula origin story in the Edgar Allan Poe book from Ahoy Comics. Artwork by Mirko Kolak. Red Sonja is a take-it-or-leave-it character for me. I've never had much interest in the character, except when I was a kid. I thought Brigitte Nielsen was really hot in the Red Sonja movie. I'm revealing this for the first time anywhere, by the way. I really loved Gail Simone's work on Red Sonja, and again, I followed it because of the writer. I read it because Gail Simone was writing it. I read this because, why can't I remember Mark's last name? Marc Russell was writing this, and I've become a fan of his writing as well. And this takes Red Sonja in a different direction. The first thing, there are a couple things I noticed about this. I'm giving it a thumbs up. I enthusiastically recommend it. The first thing I noticed is that in the entire issue, Red Sonja is not scantily dressed. She's actually wearing what kind of a warrior would wear if she's roaming the lands. So she's got kind of like she's not naked, which for some people that might be a turnoff, but for others, I found it very interesting. I don't think I've ever read a Red Sonja comic where it didn't start out with her in her chainmail bikini, but she's dressed. The second thing is, and I am going to spoil this because it might get you to pick it up. Red Sonja returns to her homelands, Harcania, or however you want to say it. I am not an expert in Conan or Red Sonja speak, but she returns and she is welcomed with open arms by the rulers there, and is actually made queen of the land, queen of Harcania. I'm probably screwing this up big time. But she's made queen, and we find out that there is a reason. There is an underhanded reason that she is made queen of the land. Really enjoyed this first issue. Guess what? If you're in the area, Alter Ego, risk-free. Pick it up, try it. You don't like it, bring it back within a week. You get store credit. We want you to try new stuff, folks. So we're making this returnable, making it risk-free to you. Finally, Uncanny X-Men number 11. This is literally the 800-pound gorilla this week. It is an oversized book. Picks up the ashes of what's left after Uncanny X-Men number 10. I'm going to spoil some things, so if you don't want to be plugged in on what's going on within the X-Men universe, you might want to stop it here. Just giving you a second to stop it if you want to. But Uncanny X-Men 11. The X-Men are dead. Those that weren't X-Men, mutants that weren't X-Men, are either underground, or they're also dead, or they're in cages. An anti-mutant vaccine has been developed, and children are now being inoculated against mutantism at birth. So, not a lot of mutants running around, but the ones that are two long-thought-dead former teammates, Cyclops and Wolverine. And Cyclops specifically is on a mission to find out what happened to the X-Men, and kind of to assemble his own team. We get appearances by several well-known mutants, including Madrox, Multiple Man, and I should point out this is written by Matthew Rosenberg, artwork by Salvador Larroca. Rosenberg wrote the Multiple Man miniseries that came out last year that was a lot of fun and brought Jamie back to life, as such it is. We also get to see Blindfold, which was not a member of my X-Men crew, but I'm familiar with the character, and some others as well. But the selling point here is the X-Men are gone, and it's up to Wolverine and Cyclops to work together to fight off everyone that wants all the mutants to be gone. That includes the Reavers, the Pacifiers, all kinds of bad guys, the government. They all want mutants gone, and we're off to the races. That's where we're going. I will say that there are 3 separate stories in here, but they are all connected. The first is the main story by Rosenberg and Larroca. Rosenberg also writes the backup 2 stories, which are retelling what we see in the first part from different characters' points of view. And it's not a retread, it's not a waste of money or a waste of time. It's actually very informative, and fun is the wrong word. But I enjoyed it. It's engaging, it's informative. I liked seeing things from the different characters' perspectives, and that's what we see in the back of Uncanny X-Men number 11. Whew, man, I was rolling through this. I'm recording this just as we're opening here at Alter Ego, so I was kind of in a rush, but I definitely wanted to come back this week and tell you that the comic gods have listened, and after a disappointing week last week, our cup overflows this week with amazing comics that you should definitely rush out to your local comic book shop and pick up so that you can enjoy all of the great stuff that came out that you'll only see in comics. I do appreciate you taking the time to watch this. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and share, and make sure to subscribe so that you're kept in the loop when a new episode goes up. There will be links to all of the comics that I mentioned in the show notes, so make sure you check those out for more information. And if you have any questions, post those as well. I'll be happy to get to those. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again next week.